Hello, everyone. My name is Angel Winston. I am a program coordinator through NYC Men Teach. NYC Men Teach is a mayoral initiative where we seek to engage men of color specifically, but an emphasis on men of color to enter our classrooms to teach. We understand that representation matters, that it's important, and that is our goal. Within that, well, under that larger umbrella of NYC Men Teach, actually lives Ed Rising NYC. Ed Rising NYC, the goal of it is to engage students, high school students, of course, as you all know, to pursue careers in teaching. And within that, we want to expose you to different college campuses. We want to provide opportunities for you to understand the college application process and get you onto some campuses, but also just provide you with some opportunities that you're excited about. And I'm so thankful that we have our awesome partners, Pace University, here to present to us, to share with us their amazing campus, to hear from so many of the folks who do very important work there, people that you need to know. So make sure you have your notebooks out and you're ready to write notes. People that you want to stay in touch with. So I'm excited, I'm thankful, and I'm excited about this presentation. It's going to be amazing. So strap on your seatbelts. I'm pretty corny, but it's cool. So I'm going to pass it over to Bridget for our undergraduate admissions. Yeah?
All right, welcome everybody. We wanted to thank you all for joining us here at Pace University today. As Angel said, my name is Bridget. I work in undergraduate admissions on Pace's New York City campus. And I'm joined with my colleague Alexa, who's also in admissions.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexa Dalvis. I'm an admissions counselor based on our Westchester campus, and I oversee recruitment in upstate New York and Southern California.
I also have Nini here from SDACA, which is a student development office. And then I'm also joined with our colleagues from the School of Education. So I'll start with you, Desiree.
Hi everyone, my name is Desiree Narciso. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications at School of Education. So in addition to doing some boring stuff, I also manage all of our social media accounts. So make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn may be a little boring, and I also manage all of our website. Happy to have you here.
Thank you, and I'll pass it over to you, Lynn, to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn DeLuca. I'm the Director of School Partnerships here in the New York City campus. I'll just take a minute just to tell you a little bit about what my office does. As School of Education students, you're going to have multiple opportunities throughout your program to hone and develop your teaching skills in several New York City public schools, starting actually in your sophomore year. And the Office of School Partnerships, my office, we work very closely with administrators in all of our partner schools to ensure that you will have a comprehensive, engaging, and of course, an enjoyable experience. Now, your formal placement will begin in your junior year as a fieldwork student, and that leads up to your student teaching placement in the last semester of your senior year. But the key word here is for each placement, you are going to receive a tremendous amount of support from your mentor teacher at your assigned school, from your Pace University clinical supervisor who's going to visit you throughout the semester at your field placement, and also from faculty in your courses. So again, everybody here at Pace is dedicated to ensuring that you develop the knowledge, the skills, and the mindset, right, to become an outstanding teacher here in New York City public schools, one of the largest and perhaps most challenging. So we hope you consider Pace, and of course the teaching profession as you set your goals for the future. Welcome.
Thank you, and that was amazing. And then we're also joined by Maria. Maria is a Pace University student, so I'll have you introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria. I'm a current student of Pace University. I'm enrolled in the 5th year combined degree program. My first 4 years, I was able to do childhood education with a concentration in math, as well as now I'm going into my 5th year and I will be doing special education. So yeah.
Thank you, Maria. We're excited to hear more from you down the line. So right now I'm going to pass it off to Desiree, who is going to talk to us about the School of Education and the programs that Pace has to offer.
Okay, so welcome everyone. First off, I want to congratulate you on your decision to become a teacher. It's an amazing field, and what better way to make a difference in a child's life. Just to start kicking it off, why teach? Why teach? Why would anyone want to be a teacher? So many reasons. In addition to making a difference in a child's life, you know, nowadays, our kids, how many role models do they have to look up to? Teacher is so important in their lives, emotionally, academically. They're with them, they're extra parents, and it's nice to have an impact in a child, and just to be there for them and mentor them. And I'd say if I wasn't in marketing, I would have definitely become a teacher. The job market is really strong right now. We have a little bit of a hiccup with the pandemic right now, but I can tell you that there are still schools calling us on an ongoing basis, wanting to hire our students. I just heard about 5 minutes ago, one of our fifth-year students just started her fifth-year program and received a full-time job. So there's jobs out there, they exist, and it's a good field to go into. There's job security. So when you teach, you have the ability to obtain tenure. So that gives you nice, good job security, and a lot of other careers can't really say that. It's family friendly. You have some time off. Some teachers don't like to hear you have summers off, but you do. Winter break, midwinter recess. So you have a lot of time off to spend with your family. The benefits are outstanding. And contrary to what a lot of people think, the salary is not so bad. So New York State is the #1 highest paid state for average teacher salary in the nation. So the average salary in New York State for teachers is $81,902. And a lot of that is driven by areas right around the New York City metro area, Westchester, Long Island. So your salary may not be too bad. Wallet Hub also ranked New York State as being in the top 10 of best states to teach. So one other thing about teaching in New York and attending a school and becoming certified in New York is that we have reciprocity. And what that means is that it is better, because we have such a rigorous program here in New York and our standards are really high. It's better to get certified in New York State, and you'll have reciprocity with about 46 or 47 other states. So that means that you can go teach in New Jersey, in Connecticut. It's better to do it, get certified in New York versus get certified in New Jersey and then try to teach in New York. So I applaud you on your decision to become a teacher. So why PACE? There's other teaching schools out there, other education schools. So why would I want to go to PACE? We have 2 campuses. Just a little fun fact about myself. I am a graduate of Pace University. Not that long ago. I didn't graduate that long ago. But I am from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I attended the Westchester campus. But I also took classes in New York City. The good thing is that you can do both. So you can, if you're from the city, you want to try to live and experience life in Westchester, you can do that. You can take classes in New York City. We have a shuttle bus service that goes in between both of the campuses. We'll probably touch upon that a little bit later, but you have the beauty of the city and the serenity of Westchester at your leisure. And the School of Education is on both campuses. Another reason why PACE. So we have this pretty cool simulation technology. It's called Teach Live. And with that, our students are able to experience teaching a class from our own classroom without being with the students. So these avatars, as you see there, based on any kind of scenario you want, everything from special education to parent-teacher conferences, our students are able to kind of tiptoe, you know, get their little toes wet before actually getting thrown into the field. And it's quite an experience. Maria, have you ever used the avatars?
I have. So my freshman year, second semester, I was late to class, and my professor, Dr. Monahan, asked, it was the day we were using the simulation, and he asked who wanted to go first. And of course, I walked in late. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I need to make up for being late for class. I was the first one up. I was wearing sweatpants. My hair was up in a bun. And we've never used this technology before. I got up in front of the classroom. He's like, okay, pretend it's like the first day of school. Introduce yourself. I got up there. I was like, good morning, class. How are you? I believe it was Ava who, the first thing that she said was, why are you did you come from the gym? And I did not know how to react. I was terrified. I looked at Professor Monahan and I was like, I don't know what to say. He's like, this is your classroom. You need to react to the students. And so I just had to keep going. I explained why I looked the way I did, and I just changed the topic and got the students talking about themselves instead. So that was my first experience. My classmates to this day, we all remember what happened. I'm also a tour guide, so on tour I always tell them the story. People laugh, but it really got me into realizing how students react. The simulation was set up to be a 5th grade classroom. A few years later, I went into student teaching with 5th grade, and the students acted exactly the same. They're sassy but loving at the same time. It was a great experience.
And having that experience inside our classroom before you actually go in a real classroom is super important. Maria, before you try to disappear, as we were talking in the beginning about like why would anyone want to become a teacher, since you're one of our awesome, outstanding School of Ed students, why don't you share with everyone a little bit your experience and why you decided to teach?
Whoops. So I always wanted to be a teacher since I was little. I came in really like, I'm going to go into education, but I don't know if I really want to. But the main reason on why I chose teaching was because I actually had a teacher who was Latina, and growing up, I went to a predominantly white school district, and so I didn't really see teachers who really looked like me. And so it was until I had her as a teacher who really made me realize that like someone like me can be a teacher, can affect students in a positive way. And so she was really the one that was like, you got this. Like, it wasn't until middle school. She said, if you want to be a teacher, you be a teacher. Originally, I wanted to be a middle school math teacher. She was my middle school math teacher. And so I was like, okay, like I'm going to be a teacher. And so I continued. I was iffy my sophomore year because I didn't know if I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. But then came my student teaching experience. I was in the New Rochelle School District. I fell in love with my students. I fell in love with the profession. I stuck to it ever since. I'm going into my 5th year. I'll be interning at Blythedale Children's Hospital this year. And so really my teacher was the one who encouraged me to be a teacher, but the program is what really made me stay at Pace and continue with my career because of the support and the help and like the experience I had with the whole, with Pace University in general.
Awesome, thank you, Maria. So you said something that really struck me is that a teacher inspired you to become a teacher, and just a reality check that someday you may be that teacher that inspires someone else to become a teacher. It's a wonderful cycle. And as I said, and I'll just keep repeating, you have such a wonderful opportunity to make a difference in a child's life. And apparently Maria was impacted so much that she decided to become a teacher herself. And we are extraordinarily lucky to have her in our program. All right, so moving on. Global education. Classrooms are not cookie cutter anymore, especially in New York City metro area. We have diverse classrooms. We want to make sure that our students are prepared for a globalized classroom. So what we offer is not 1, but 2 faculty-led courses abroad. And these are not a typical study abroad program. You don't stay with a family for a semester. You are brought by a faculty member abroad. You stay in an apartment, and for about a little over 2 weeks, we have in January our course in Italy. So you will travel to Rome, Tuscany, and Florence. And not only will you get to see pretty cool sights and eat really amazing food, you'll also be able to study in a preschool setting with Italian students. You will attend Italian colleges and receive lectures from Italian professors. You'll also attend middle school and high school. And the students who have experienced this program have just been really impacted by the experience and just learning how other cultures are learning outside of the United States. In July, we have our course that takes place in Ecuador, and there you tutor students in math and English. And the experience of that is just, it lasted our students a lifetime. And like I said, it's important to become exposed to cultures outside just within the United States. As Maria had mentioned, we need, in addition to the avatars, we want our students to have the most experience they possibly can. So we make sure our students experience in classroom settings from their freshman year. They'll take trips on as soon as their freshman year. During sophomore year, their classroom experience is tied to their teach courses. By junior year, they attend schools as part of their field work. It's about 1 day per week. Lynn DeLuca, who's our Director of School Partnerships, feel free to jump in here. And by their senior year, in the fall semester, it's 2 days a week. And by the spring semester, they're in a classroom 5 days a week. Is that right, Lynn?
Yes, that's absolutely correct, Desiree. Thank you. And also, just keep in mind that all of these field experiences that you have starting in your sophomore year, but formally in your junior year, those are like mini job interviews. Many of our students receive job employment and opportunities from they're accepted as teachers. So, you really have a good 2 years to hone and develop your teaching skills. And hopefully by the end of those 2 years, when you complete your program and receive your certification, you'll have a job, offer. So, it's really a wonderful, fully immersed experience. You're working with clinical supervisors who are former New York City public school teachers, former New York City public school administrators, and who have such a passion for working with students and providing the support that they know that you need as you move through your program. Mentor teachers too, they're highly dedicated to ensuring that you succeed every step of the way. And of course, I mentioned earlier, your faculty, your instructors. But yeah, the fieldwork experiences are just the first step to accepting employment in a New York City public school.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lynn.
Sure.
And just the second part of this, in addition to fieldwork, there's a tremendous amount of student support here at School of Education. We have two amazing advisors. We have Linda Guyette, and we have Craig Thompson on both our Pleasantville and New York City campuses. And I think Maria had mentioned Linda at one point. She is very nurturing, and let me tell you, she will make sure that you graduate on time and make sure that you're taking the right courses and be there for you the entire step of the way. Maria, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I'm a first generation student. I have no idea. I was starting college. I didn't know what FAFSA was. I didn't know how to apply, but I got my high school counselors to help me through that part. But then once I got to PACE, I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. None of my parents went to college. And so I'm the oldest sister, so it's not like my siblings could have helped me. But I came into school, Linda sat down with me, and the first thing she said is that you're going to get through these 4 years and I'm here to help you. And I said, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm terrified. I don't know what I'm doing. She's like, this is why I'm here. And throughout my 4 years, she has been one of the biggest support systems I've had. I went in, I remember my freshman year, I went in, I told her, I was honest, I'm terrified. My senior, she was there for me if I needed to talk about a class that I wasn't doing well in, or she would email me if one semester I got like a 3.9 GPA, and she emailed me immediately saying, I'm so proud of you. So she was really someone that I was able to look at as like a role model at the school, and she really helped me through my entire like PACE path. And she continues to help me, even though I'm a 5th year student. she still emails me to this day, and I'm really thankful for her.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing that. Yeah, we have, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's, since I've come back here from being a student to working here, we truly are a family, and Linda's probably the mama of the family. So if you ever pass by, you know, in William Street, our offices in William Street, or Bucksbound, which is where we live in Pleasantville, come by. We have students visit us all the time. We have snacks. Give our students snack. They'll pop in, say hello to Linda. They'll pop in, say hello to me. I've developed relationships with several students who've taken over our Instagram account and just walked you through a day in a life of a School of Ed student. We truly are a family, from, you know, the honor societies, doing walks, autism walks, and it's just a really, I can't even tell you any more about it, but everyone knows your name, everyone knows how you're progressing, if you need help, and I can't stress more that we truly are a family. We're a small school, we have small class sizes, we have amazing faculty, so we are a School of Ed family. Okay, so now some fun numbers. At the end of the day, you want to graduate, you do want to get a job, right? That's very important. As we had mentioned, a lot of our student teachers are getting hired from their schools before they even graduate. Our 2019 graduating class, of that class, 97% are employed or continuing their education. So that's a pretty strong statistic. So most of our students have been placed, they're working, or they decided to continue and get other certifications. Another great thing about PACE is that College Factual ranked us in the top 10% of schools across the country, going from graduate school to high school, as being in the top 10% for highest salaries. And then Grad Reports ranked us as number 5 for our students being the highest paid special education graduates. So if you think about going into special education, it's another very robust field. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our programs. There's 4 paths you can take when you become a School of Education student. We'll kick it off with our Early Childhood Education Bachelor's. So with that, you would teach birth through grade 2. So you would teach in daycare centers, preschools, or elementary schools. So the younger population. So to become a teacher, you have to be certified in either anything from early childhood through adolescent. That's considered your initial certification, and then we can talk later on about additional certifications that you can get, such as special education, literacy, or TESOL, to name a few. So this one would be your Early Childhood Education Bachelor of Science. We also have childhood education. With that, you would teach grades 1 through 6, so that's your elementary schools. Now we also have a dual degree option, so you can combine early childhood and childhood, so you would teach birth all the way through grade 6. That's your daycare centers, your preschools, and your elementary schools. The number of credits is just slightly more, but your fieldwork experience would be a little different. Okay, then finally we have adolescent education. So with that, you would teach grades 7 through 12, your middle schools and your high schools, and this would be subject specific. So for adolescent education, the options we have are biology, chemistry, history, English, math, or Spanish, but Spanish is only offered in our New York City campus. So you would be certified to teach, middle school math, or let's say high school English. Okay, we also have, Maria touched upon, a 5-year combined degree program. In order to teach, you do need, in New York, you have to have your master's degree. So what we offer is a 5-year combined degree program. So you will work towards your bachelor's the first 4 years, and then the 5th year, you would wrap up with your graduate degree. So with our 5-year combined degree program, you'll graduate in 5 years as opposed to 6 if you did it the other way. And you'll graduate with 2 degrees, your bachelor's and your master's, and up to 2 teaching certificates. So possibly up to 3 teaching certificates. So for example, if you chose a dual bachelor's program, so if you chose early childhood and childhood, and then the 5th year we offer either special education or literacy specialists, you would have 3 certifications. So you would have early childhood, and special education or literacy. So all of that in 5 years. And a great thing, so any kind of PACE-based aid that you received in your undergraduate program carries over to your 5th year. So that's pretty cool. We also have teaching certificate extensions. And what does that do? So the more certifications you have, the more marketable you are, the more money you can make. Bottom line. We have a middle school extension program. So what that does is if for just 6 credits, for just 6 more credits, if you chose the path of childhood education, so that is 1 through 6. If you take the middle school extension, you'll be able to certify to teach grades 7 through 9. And if you did adolescent, you'll also be able to add grades 5 through 6 to your portfolio. We also have extensions in TESOL, which is teaching English to speakers of other languages, and bilingual. Maria, your video went on. Do you want to add? Come on in.
Yeah, so I'm in the 5th year combined degree program. I did my undergrad in childhood education with a concentration in math, and now I'm doing the special education master's program. But I've also done the extensions for the early childhood, and so I will be certified birth through 6, and so extensions since the beginning we were told, like, if you guys want to be more marketable, if you want to teach like middle school, because I'm childhood, I want to teach middle school or early childhood, they recommend taking those extensions. It wasn't difficult at all. It was just a few extra classes. Again, it's just like a regular class. The professors are super sweet. I actually took mine over the summer. The professors were super, super sweet. Because it's summer and because of the whole pandemic thing, they were always attentive to their emails. They would give us their phone number if we wanted to talk to them on the phone, because I'm not very good at email. I'd rather talk to someone like through Skype or the phone. So I would call them, ask questions. They were very helpful. So I recommend it 100%.
Excellent. Thanks, Maria. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is we are in a kind of a different climate right now. I'm sure you have experienced last semester going remote. It's an evolving landscape at this point, and just want to let you know a little bit of how School of Education is adapting and evolving during remote learning. Have a fun little meme there because just like that, everyone had this newfound appreciation of teachers going remote because a lot of parents weren't too happy with homeschooling. So one thing we have is we have started a virtual tutoring partnerships with the New York City DOE District 2 and also the Ossining School District up here in Westchester. And I'm going to pass this over to Lynn in a second. For our student teaching experience and fieldwork experience, we started a new partnership with a new platform called Go React Video Software. Lynn, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, this is really exciting because now we know that our students don't have access to the New York City public schools, nor do their clinical supervisors. Normally, you'd be honest at a school site, your supervisor would come and they would observe your lesson, then you'd have a feedback conference immediately following. But now we know we can't do that, so we contracted with a company called Go React that enables our students to videotape their lesson through Google Classroom. They upload the video to Go React. The clinical supervisor logs in, views the video, and then provides feedback, very specific feedback regarding that lesson. And then immediately following, within a few days or so, the clinical supervisor and the student, you log back on and you talk about that lesson. You look at all your strengths, and then you look at some areas where you may want to hone and develop your skills. So using this software is really an exciting way for us to provide a much more supportive and comprehensive experience for our students. So we're very excited about it. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to tell them about it, Desiree.
Oh, we're very excited about it, Lynn, of course. So seeing that we went to a remote environment in the middle of March last year, our advisors and Lynn and Jennifer up here in our Westchester office, they wanted to provide the same opportunity of being able to drop into Bucksbound or William Street and ask questions. So we have every single day virtual open office hours, open Zoom hours. So our students can just go in, they have, we email them the meeting ID and password, they can just log in, ask any question they want. And that's also for you. So if you have any questions, we will be more than happy to share the open advisement login information, the meeting ID and password. If you ever have any questions in the future, you know how to reach us. We also just held over the summer an educational series. So because the landscape is changing ever so greatly, and there's a lot of important topics affecting education nowadays, we had 3 different series on topics, including the first one was about social justice and discussing race in the classroom. We had excellent panelists for that. Our second discussion had to do with how teachers adapted it to remote learning, and they shared different strategies and tips. And then the last discussion we had was with one of a New York regent, a superintendent, and actually Pace High School vice principal. And basically they touch upon so many topics affecting education and where we think the new era of education is really going. So all of those are recorded. They're on our YouTube channel if you ever want to check it out. But we brought a lot of these important discussions virtually to people if we couldn't even, gather together. And then finally, one of our New York City faculty members teaches New York City Teaching Fellows. And as soon as the pandemic hit, she would ask our students, how's it going? How are you all doing? And they experienced frustration because in the New York City DOE, the platform they were told to use was Google Classroom, as I'm sure you all know. And some teachers didn't feel comfortable with that particular platform and didn't quite know what to do. So Professor Pankowski said, you know what? I'm going to start my own Google Classroom and we're all going to join it and we're going to learn. So she started her own Google Classroom on Google Classroom so they can learn about Google Classroom. So we are, we are down in the trenches with our students. If there's any issues that they have, we will go and we will learn with them. So there's no problem too small. We are in this together. And just to bring back that point, we are a family. So that is, that should be all I have for now as far as School of Education. I think we're going to hold the questions for now until the end, but you can always email us at soe@pace.edu if you have any general questions. I check that account and we'll be more than happy to help. And that's all I have for now.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Mimi Fortune, and I am the Associate Director for Student Development and Campus Activities. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I wanted to just take this time to talk about college beyond the classroom. And I think that the things that you'll learn inside of the classrooms, and since you all are teachers in Rising, that the classroom experience is very complementary to what you'll learn outside of the classroom. And so today I want to take the opportunity to share a little bit about what PACE offers outside of the classroom. Share a little bit about my experiences and how that's kind of sort of supported me in my career and helped me navigate being a good student, but then also being one who is relatable and very active in our community. Because I always think that those are always our greatest leaders. And since you all are teachers and you're going to be leaders in the classroom, I think it's important for you to be in touch with what it takes to build and develop a leader within your classroom. And then I have Maria, who's going to be chiming in and talking a little bit about her leadership experiences on campus. And hopefully that'll help you make some connections about why it's important to get involved. So a little bit about myself. I absolutely love my job. It's a 14-year experience that started my freshman year in college at a SGA meeting. I was asked to run for the secretarial position, and I did. I ran, I got it, even though I was afraid of the role, but I did it anyways. I did it afraid. And that one role as secretary of SGA kind of opened up a door for me to become a resident assistant. A resident assistant is someone who works within the residential halls, the college dorms, as they would have called it, to kind of sort of create community with students in their living environment. And I became a RA my sophomore year in college. Following becoming an RA, I was on our leadership council, which was a very important group on our campus because we got to work with the president and hire administrators to talk about what our students needed and what were some of the challenges the university was facing. And one of the challenges that our college at the time was facing is that they had a low attendance at our basketball games, specifically for our women's basketball game. And I drew on an experience that I had when I was in high school. In high school, I was a part of our STEP team. And then, you know, in thinking about what are some ways that we can kind of help some of our students come to our basketball game, I said, you know what, why don't we just start a STEP team? And that's exactly what me and a good friend of mine did. We started a STEP team and we started to perform at the women's basketball game. Attendance started to increase because, of course, everyone wants to see a really good performance. And after just performing through our women's basketball game, we would stay for the men's basketball game, which further increased attendance. And somehow over the years, we were able to increase our attendance at our women's and basketball game, our men's basketball game, because of an experience I had in high school. I brought it into college because of a need that we had, and we were able to help our institution solve an issue that they had. So I felt that I had contributed to my college. I left my legacy in some small way because I used an experience that I thought was very helpful and beneficial to students, and it worked. Speaking of working in college was a thing for me. I'm a first generation student. I come from a family of 9 and I'm the 4th oldest. So I couldn't depend on my mom to support me through college. And so I had to work. I worked 3 jobs. And that's sometimes typical. You don't have to work 3 jobs, but some students do it. I was a resident assistant. I worked in our registrar's office, which was pretty cool. And I worked at a local corner cafe. And working at that local corner cafe opened up so many opportunities for me to meet professors. The president and his wife would come and eat sometimes. And it was a great networking opportunity for me. And while working at the corner cafe one day, there was a professor that walked in and she was like, Mimi, what are you doing over the summer? And I told her, you know, I'm working so that I can save enough money to go study abroad. And she was like, oh, that's awesome. She wished me good luck and said, you know, I hope everything works out. And like a few days later, I got an email from that college professor, which tagged the president of our university asking if there were any scholarships available for me to go study abroad. And the president said yes. And through that opportunity, I was able to go study in London and Prague. And that all just stemmed from me networking and just working at the corner cafe and just getting to know other people. And so, you know, that opportunity opened up for me to go study in London and Prague for a month. And so I say all of this just to share a little bit about my experiences. My experiences obviously extended way past just that opportunity because now I'm working in higher ed and I'm getting the opportunity to come back and talk to students about why it's important to get involved in college. But the reason why I think this is very important is so that you understand to not underestimate the power of an experience. And I'm gonna say that again, do not underestimate the power of an experience because you just never know where it's going to lead you. And so I think, again, getting involved in college or beyond the classroom is very important because it develops your social skills, it develops your intellectual skills, it helps you to become a more well-rounded individual. And if you are going to be a teacher in a classroom teaching students about, you know, how to become the individuals that you think that they need to become in the future, I think it's very important to connect them to those out of the classroom experiences because it definitely supports who they will become, how to nurture their personalities and the things that they want to do in the future. I think that's a very good way for you to start to nurture some of those skills inside of them. So just a little bit about what I do. I work in our Student Development and Campus Activities office, and what we do is we foster inclusive experiential learning environment that helps students develop into a well-rounded and resilient individuals. And so some of the events that we plan on campus, we do orientation, where we welcome and transition incoming students and their families into PACE. We do weeks of welcome. So the very first month of school, pretty much every single day, we have an event or several events on campus for students to kind of connect with one another, meet some of the different offices and departments that we have on campus. We're also in charge of all of our leadership excursions. So any of our leadership programs, our President's Breakfast Club, any of our student government. We oversee over 100 student organizations within our office. And through that, we are able to help student leaders kind of sort of learn how to be better leaders within their clubs. And so all of this is fostered within our department. And so we look to help students find their place at PACE. And so again, it's one thing to have that inside classroom experience, and it's another thing to be getting involved on campus and creating meaningful experiences that'll help students better find their place within our institution. We have over 100 student organizations, and one of the things that I love to talk about when I talk about our student groups is that if there was a group that you wanted on our campus, and let's just say we didn't have that, we offer those opportunities for students to start those groups, because what you might find very interesting, there's at least 4 or 5 other students who may be interested in those groups as well. And so we always encourage students, if there's something that's on our list, or if there's a group that you want to start that's not listed as a part of our 100 student orgs, we encourage you to start it because we want to make sure that we create different opportunities for students to be involved and make those wonderful connections of experiences they've had in high school and college. Some of the groups that I like to work with, and specifically with me, I work with all of our cultural and identity-based groups. So we have our Black Student Union, we have our Japanese Language Club, some of our academic and professional clubs, we have our chemistry clubs, we have our law and society clubs, we have our debate team. If you're into media, arts, and entertainment, we have our PACE board group on campus. Our PACE board essentially comes together and plan a lot of our major events on campus. So I don't know if you're looking behind me, but I have some posters of Meek Mill on campus. I have some posters of Jesse McCartney, some amazing, really cool singers and performers that we've invited on campus to do some concerts for us. Our PACE board group, they're in charge of that. And so students get to be on the board and plan out that entire process. And so if these are the things that you're really interested in too, we definitely offer those opportunities for you. Student governance, if you're a part of SGA on your campus and you want to bring those leadership skills onto college, we definitely offer those opportunities for you. And then again, special interest groups, if there are groups, again, that you don't see on here on our list and you want to try something that's very different, we definitely have a wide variety and array of groups that you can join. So again, clubs, organizations, whether it's academic, professional, if you're into volunteering, there are so many opportunities for you to connect. I know that a lot of our students, a lot of their more meaningful experiences come from being involved in a club and an organization. So we definitely encourage you to definitely get involved in those. Leadership opportunities, I have Maria on here and I'll let her step in right about this moment. But some of the ones that we have listed here, we have our orientation leaders. These are groups who are these are students who transition our incoming freshman students into college. If you're looking for a job on campus, we have our SADACA student associates. And these students work within our office and help us plan some of these events, help us manage all of our student organizations. And so if you're wanting to have some of those deeper connections to our campus and help support our student organizations, we offer jobs within our office to do that. Our Setter Spirit Ambassadors, you know, we're always about school spirit and school pride. And so we have our Setter Spirit Ambassadors that are always helping students make those special connections to PACE by encourage school spirit. They have what we call PACE Thursdays, where they're always giving away PACE gear and encourage students to wear their blue and gold. We have, again, Residence Hall Association. We have our Hall Council. If you're into teaching, which you are, we have our University One-on-One Peer Leaders. These are students who are actually in the classroom with professors, and they are helping the professors teach the class. And sometimes the students are teaching. And if you're looking for an experience that could help you as you become a teacher, I think that's a great opportunity for students to get some of those in-classroom experiences as you're wanting to learn how to become a teacher. And so, Maria, I'm gonna pass it over to you and share a little bit about your experience. I know that you've been a tour guide, and so take it away.
Okay, so again, I'm a first generation student, so I knew the one thing that I wanted to do once I got to college was get involved, but I really didn't know how. But I received an email from STCA, so the Westchester campus, and it was for the Setters Leadership Program. So they described it as a program that allows students to become leaders on campus. It teaches us how to be a leader. So the first thing that I learned through that program was that leadership is not a position, but it's a process. And so that's the one thing I took away, that it's always going to stick to my head. And that has to do a lot with teaching as well. So my first year, I was like, okay, this is a process. I need to go through this process in order to become like a good leader. And so I started with SLH, and then I was like, okay, I want to get more involved. So then I was like, maybe I'll be a tour guide. I love the campus already, and if I start now, I can encourage other students to love the campus just as much as I do. So I became a tour guide. After that, then I became a student assistant for the Welcome Center. And I was like, I want to get more involved. I was like, I want to make more friends, because again, college, it's like there's so many people, and so I want my own little group. And so I joined fraternity sorority life. Joining the sorority, it wasn't just joining that one specific sorority, it was really joining the community. And so I gained a lot more friends through not just the sorority, but I became friends with the fraternities, the cultural sororities and fraternities. So it's just really a community that I felt very comfortable in. So then after that, I was like, I want to get more involved. How can I get more involved? I want to show off my leadership skills. And so I became a part of student government. So through all of this, I was like, this is a lot. Again, first generation, I have a younger sister, so I was like, I need to get a job so that I can pay for stuff that I want to be a part of. If I want to buy PACE gear, I needed a job on campus. And so one of my professors reached out to me saying that I have a family who's looking for a tutor. And so I started tutoring a high school student in calculus. The student did really well. The family loves me, and I'm still tutoring him through the entire pandemic, which is really cool. Sorry, I lost my spot. But I got very involved my freshman year and continued to be very involved my sophomore year. But then when student teaching came along, I was like, I need to focus on something that I really want to be a part of. I was stretching myself out too thin, and so I stayed with my sorority. I actually became vice president of the sorority, so I was able to show off my leadership skills through that. Freshman year, I was also an orientation leader. And so coming my senior year, I really wanted to go back to working with STCA, because they're the ones who showed me to the Setters Leadership House, the leadership program at the beginning, and we also worked through orientation with them. And so I was like, I really felt comfortable with that little family that they had. And so as my last hurrah with the university, I actually became a student assistant for SCCA. And so that was my little closure on my college experience. I was able to work with them again. I was able to work with, his name's Brandon Matthew. He's he's the head of fraternity and sorority life, so he oversees all the fraternities and sororities, and so that was my last chance to really like be a part of the PACE community, my leadership skills and stuff. But the one piece of advice that I would give is get involved, because again, this is how you meet people, make connections, and try to find that one club or organization that you feel passionate about and build on that club and organization, because then through that you can have that, like I've been a tour guide for all my 4 years, love the tour guides to death, and that's something that really helped me, and it's great for your resume and stuff. But yeah.
Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts about getting involved. What I love about Maria's story, which mirrors a lot of my story, is that it all started with one thing, and it became a snowball effect of like other things, other opportunities. And so, you know, that one step of creating an experience in one of these opportunities, whether you're a part of a student organization, whether you're doing a leadership opportunity on campus, or whether you're working on campus, usually open up doors for other opportunities. And so getting involved is not only about developing your social skills, it's not only about developing your intellectual skills, it's not only about meeting new people, but it's putting yourself out there and seeing where it takes you. And again, as I had mentioned, never underestimate the power of an experience, because you never know where that leadership opportunity, where that club opportunity, where one speaking opportunity will guide you or lead you in the trajectory of your field. And so, Maria, thank you so much for sharing so much of your involvement opportunity in college. So one of the things that I think is very important is that how do you find out about all of these involvement opportunities on campus? Because there's just so much, and it could be overwhelming to an incoming student. On our campus, we have what we call Setter Sync, and it is an online platform where we house all of our student organizations, and students can come in to Setter Sync and they can kind of navigate. It's kind of sort of like a Facebook group for all of our groups. So you can go in and you can click on each group. You can find when they meet. You can find out about their upcoming events. You can find out information and messages that they'll post on their page. And then the other thing that's really good about being involved in Setter Sync is that it tracks your involvement record. And so by the time you reach your senior year, if you're wanting to just recall all the things that you've been involved in while you were in college, you're able to go through Setter Sync and just see a list of all of those involvement opportunities. And I think it's really good kind of supplement to add to your resume if you're trying to show a lot of the work that you did while you were in college outside of the classroom. Something that a lot of people often don't talk about is the student activity fee. And I always like to bring that up because every college student, if you're in school, as long as you're an undergraduate student, most colleges have what we call the student activities fee, and it's automatically a part of your tuition fee or your tuition bill. And what it is it's a fee that you pay, and that is given to our office. And within our office, we have what we call the Budget Allocation Council, and it's a group of students, another opportunity for you to be a student leader within this group. It's a budget committee that comes together, and they take this pot of money that every student contributes to. And from there, they disseminate funds to all of our student organizations so that they can plan activities for you. But then they also think in a very thoughtful and intentional way of how to spend that money for you. So how to bring speakers on campus. Are there things that we need on campus for students that would benefit the entire student body? Out of that fee is where we pay for all of those activities, all of those events, all of the concerts that you'll attend, all of our weeks of welcome events, all of our Broadway shows, any of our movie nights, any kind of major event that's happening on campus. All of that is paid for by your student activity fee. And so one of the things that we always tell students is, since you paid for it, enjoy it. Be a part of the experience. Do not let students enjoy what you've also paid for. So definitely look into that, because every student pays for it. If you're an undergraduate student, you've paid for this fee, and this fee is utilized through all of our student organizations. and through our budget allocation committee to plan programs for you. So if you see an event that you want to be a part of, go, because you've already paid for it. And we always want to make sure that students are aware of that and that that money isn't just sitting dormant in your account. Student employment is very important on our campus. I know our campus, every year they do a career fair where they have hundreds of employers that come to our campus and interview our PACE students. One of the things, again, I shared the benefits of me working on campus, not only that it provided funds for me to take care of myself, but then it gave me some of the experiences I needed in order for me to put on my resume before I graduated. And as teachers in making, one of the things that you want to do is have some of those experiences on your resume, showing that you could come into a classroom, you're really good with public speaking, you're really good with kind of sort of doing strategic planning. And a lot of those skills and experiences that you'll get is from doing an internship or from working on campus. So if you're interested in working on campus, again, we have our career services office on our campus, and they have a program called Handshake. And through Handshake, you're able to go into our online platform and look at all the jobs that we have available or all the internships that we have available for students. And a lot of our students, I know that I work with 2 or 3 students that are working one full-time job and then doing 2 internships at the same time. So I don't always recommend doing more than 1 at a time, but because those opportunities are available to our PACE students, and if you have the time, we highly encourage you to go ahead and find some jobs on campus or off campus that would help you with your resume and help you with your skill building as you're looking for opportunities to become a teacher in the future. Last but not least, campus partners. I think the most important thing to understand is that we don't necessarily just plan events that are just fun. We're thoughtful and intentional about the events that we plan, and we're thoughtful and intentional about collaborating with different offices on campus. So we do work with our LGBTQA Center to plan a lot of our social justice programs around the LGBTQ community. We work with our counseling office to plan a lot of our welcome and wellness events. We work with our Office of Multicultural Affairs office to plan a lot of our diversity and inclusion events for students. And we know that that's very important for all of our students here at PACE. Our volunteer office, our Center for Community Action and Research office, they plan a lot of our volunteer programs, and we always encourage students to get out there, get into our community, and do some services for our community. And then our international office, every year we do a study abroad fair in collaboration with them. And so we always encourage students to go study abroad. That experience kind of sort of expands your mind and expands your thoughts about the world that you live in. And so we always plan some kind of activity with our international office. And in Res Life, we're always working with our residential life office because of the RAs that work in there. So we're always collaborating on events for students. And so we don't necessarily just plan events just out of our office. We make sure that we're intentional about collaborating with our campus partners to bring a variety of events for students. So don't just get involved in clubs, don't just work on campus, but then also look into what some of these offices have for you so that it could better expand your mind about the world and the campus that you'll be coming on. And then, as Desiree had mentioned, now that we're doing remote learning and everything is kind of sort of virtual, we have also transitioned a lot of our events to virtual. So a lot of our student organizations are planning virtual events. And so if you couldn't attend an event in person, which we are doing, you could always go online and do one of our virtual events. We have a long list of programs that we have offered to students. They have like a lot of Kahoot nights, we have movie nights, we have comedian nights, we are even hosting concerts virtually now. And so if you couldn't come to an event, we do offer virtual programs for our students because we're, again, trying to find out ways to better connect with our students on campus. And so, again, we encourage you to find out those opportunities. We encourage you to get involved on campus. We encourage you to find jobs on campus, because all of those experiences will help you to better become the individual you want to be, but then also think about the world of work that you're going to enter and how to be a better leader within the classroom. So that's all I have for you all today. If you all have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. My email is jfortune@pace.edu. Feel free to email me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the admissions portion of this, I'm joined with my colleague Alexa Dalvis. We've been working in undergraduate admissions for a little over a year now. We've both been working at PACE now for quite some time, so we have extensive knowledge that we would like to share with you about the college application process and the college search process. So just an overview of what we're going to talk about today. If you are a sophomore or a junior, you can start by the college search process. So thinking to yourself, what do you want from your college experience? What can a college offer that may help to support me? So if you are looking for extra time on your test, you need accommodations for testing, that may be something that you want to put at the forefront of your questions that you're asking to a university that you're looking at, making sure that they can meet those accommodations to the best that they can, or as closely to what you had in high school. And then the application process for rising seniors, how do you apply and what is going to be evaluated on that application to provide some insight for you. And then for the seniors, you know, come May and June, as you're graduating and preparing for that, you're going to choose your college. So you got in, and now what do you have to do to decide where you fit in best? And of course, admissions is always here to provide resources for success. So we want to be sure that we can help you to the best of your abilities, but there are also other opportunities that you can seek out from your high school counselor as well. They probably have extensive knowledge about Pace University and many other schools that they've worked with for a while. So when you're starting the search process for colleges, you'll want to think to yourself the questions that have outlined on the left-hand side. So what do you want to study? If you're majoring in business, you may want to look at schools that have that major, right? If you're undecided, you may want to look at schools that provide the opportunity for you to keep moving forward. And of course, education we've spoke about many times. PACE is a great place for education programs, especially just being in the New York area. So we can be sure that we're helping you with that. Do you want to be close or far from home? So if you're in the New York City area, you may want to stay closer to New York City and come to the downtown campus. But if you want a different and unique experience from what you grew up in, you may want to go to the Westchester campus. And again, the environment kind of speaks to the dual campuses as well. What do you need to succeed in getting your applications in? And what do you want to have in your college experience? So you heard from Mimi, Maria, and Desiree about what PACE can offer you in terms of your college experience. So keeping those in the back of your mind while you are going to search for other schools as well.
So now, in terms of applying, how do you apply, when do you apply, and what do you need to apply? Now, typically you can apply to colleges mostly between two different types of applications. You have the common application and then a campus-specific application. So we do have a campus-specific application here at PACE, but we do not preference our applications. So if you're applying to numerous schools and you think it would be easier to fill out the common application, that is a choice that is completely up to you. It will not harm or benefit you, as we're reviewing that college application. In terms of when do you apply, there are a few different deadlines that schools will typically offer. Early decision is going to be binding, so you really shouldn't apply to a school early decision unless you are 100% set on being a member of that community, because if you do get accepted, then you are required to go there. Early action is a little less binding in a sense that you can apply to as many schools as you want early action, but it's going to give you the application decision back a little earlier because those deadlines are earlier. So if you apply for an early action deadline, you'll get your response back in the mail a little bit earlier than if you were to wait till a regular decision deadline. But again, early action is not binding in any way, shape, or form, so you can apply to as many schools as you want early action. And now regular decision is that standard deadline that schools have. Some schools will have rolling admissions, which means that they are looking at applications even though they may have a deadline. They'll still look at applications after that deadline if they've been submitted, and they will still consider you for admissions. But then some schools do have a hard hard decision deadline as well. It really is just depending upon the school, so make sure you are asking those questions when you do your campus tours or virtual visits. And then there are also program-specific deadlines. So for example, on PACE, we do have a School of Nursing as well as the School of Performing Arts, and programs within those schools do have program-specific deadlines, which we'll talk about in a little while. So again, just things to keep in the back of your mind as you're applying and looking for the deadlines that best fit your preferences. And now in terms of what you need, college applications are pretty standard, at least at PACE, you know, things don't really differ too much from the norm. So in terms of the application, you are going to submit an application fee unless you have a fee waiver. Certain schools will offer fee waivers for things like attending events or taking a campus tour. So make sure you keep an eye out on your emails for opportunities like that, because those can definitely add up. We also will require you to submit an essay as part of the general application, and that's a great opportunity for you to let us know who you are and give us a little more insight as to, you know, who you are as a person outside of the classroom setting. We'll talk a little bit more about essay suggestions in a minute. And extracurricular activities. What have you been involved with? Clubs, organizations, volunteer work, part-time jobs, even family responsibilities. Again, we want to know what you have going on for you outside of the classroom. Of course, you're going to have to submit that academic transcript so we can see, you know, what type of a student you are. In terms of the transcript, we're looking for general upward trend. So we want to see that you're challenging yourself as an academic and consistently improving over the course of your 4 years. And now those last few items on the list are really a case-by-case basis depending on the school or the program that you're applying to. SAT, ACTs, we are seeing that more schools are becoming test optional, especially in light of the COVID-19 crisis. But it really does vary from school to school. So again, you will have to ask each school that you're applying to specifically what their testing requirements are. Here at Pace University, we are test optional with the exception of a handful of programs, which are all listed out on our website. Websites are a really great source of information as you embark on this college application process, so I highly recommend visiting all of the admissions web pages for all of the different schools you're interested in applying in. And now if you're applying to a more professional or technical program, you might be required to submit something like a portfolio or an audition piece. Again, if you're applying to those programs, you'll be provided with all of that information on what's expected from you for those submissions. And then last but not least, some schools do offer interviews. Again, it's a case-by-case basis depending on the school. Personally, here at Pace University, we do not offer interviews, but it is a good opportunity if you do have the internship or if you do have an interview opportunity available for you. It's a great way for your admissions counselor to, you know, just get to know you a little bit better on that personal level. And again, you can ask those personal questions and really kind of tailor that conversation to your own personal college experience. So moving right along. When do you apply? So as I mentioned, again, we have early decision, early action, regular decisions, rolling admissions, and program specific. So early decision, again, is going to be that binding one. So unless you are 100,000% sure that you want to be a part of that campus community, I don't necessarily suggest applying early decision because again, you don't want to lock yourself into something if you're not 100% set on it. So early action is a great alternative option. The decisions deadlines are earlier, so you'll get that acceptance letter in the mail back earlier than if you wait for that regular decision deadline, but it's non-binding unlike that early decision deadline or early decision deadline, yeah. Regular decision, again, each school will have a different regular decision deadline, and depending on whether or not they want rolling admissions, they may accept applications after that deadline. And then of course, if you are applying to a program specific, like maybe a medical school program or school of performing arts program, you want to make sure that you're checking to make sure that those programs don't have separate deadlines that are separate from just the general school deadline. So on the right, you're going to see Pace University's deadline. So November 1st is our early decision, so that's going to be binding. November 15th and December 1st are the early action deadlines, so non-binding. And then we do have our February 15th regular decision deadline. And now, as I mentioned, we do have our special programs in nursing and performing arts. So the application deadline for performing arts is December 15th and nursing is February 15th. So those are hard deadlines. We will not accept applications for those programs after those dates.
All right, so I'm going to touch a little bit about talking about writing your college essay. We get this question a lot when we are out recruiting students. So just to provide a little bit of insight, we're going to be talking about 3 different things: the things to cover, things to avoid, and some additional tips and tricks, right? So the things that you want to cover is basically you want to answer the question that you selected. So on the Common Application as well as on the PACE application, you are going to be asked a certain question. So it may be, what's an event that shaped you? Talk about somebody that inspired you. What lessons have you learned? Talk about a challenge you may have faced. So all of those things can be tied into maybe a travel experience, passion project, if you have a part-time job, really any of those things that you're involved in or things that you feel passionate about. That's where we find that the best essays shine, right? Some things to avoid, talking maybe about some negativity, maybe oversharing. One thing that we often see is writing the wrong college name, which is kind of comical. But you know, just making sure that you are proofreading those essays. We always like to say that you get somebody that you like to read them, not somebody that you love. Somebody that you like will provide some great insight for you, and they'll be able to give you some tips and tricks, maybe grammatical errors, things like that. And then, you know, writing too little. You don't want to write just a quick paragraph about yourself saying, hi, my name is Bridget. I have this GPA and this SAT score, and that's it, right? This is a really great opportunity for the admissions committee to get to know you a little bit better. So it really puts a 3D person behind just the application that we're reading up until that point. So we just want to be sure that you are considering the fact that we want to get to know you as best we can, right? We do a holistic review, so we want to be sure that we're taking everything into consideration given the circumstances that you have faced throughout your time in high school. And then, you know, some additional tips and tricks. You know, I spoke about the getting feedback and being honest, making sure that you're revising your essay, you know, getting the feedback and then going back and actually taking that feedback constructively and making it into a better essay, right? Not putting the edit notes into the essay that you're going to submit to us, making sure that you know, if somebody highlighted something, said remove this, don't submit that draft to us, making sure that your final draft is titled final college draft, right? It's not saved under some random letters and numbers. Making your application competitive. So again, we talked about PACE's holistic review process. So extracurricular activities. So what are you involved in? Are you involved in sports? Are you involved in student government? Do you have family responsibilities like Alexa spoke about? What was the time commitment for that? So did you babysit for an hour after work? Did you only play sports for 1 week over the summer at a sports camp? Things like that we just want to consider when you're writing it. The Common Application, again, does make this pretty easy for students to complete. It's pretty straightforward right on the page. And then did you hold any position? So you could say, I'm the class president my junior and senior year for, I planned the prom, I planned the junior prom. That would be great information to let us know, you know. And then you could go on and work with maybe in SEDACO or SDCA, depending on what campus, and you can work with them to get involved at PACE as well. So testing, we usually recommend to take the SAT or ACT a few times, but again, not required. It is especially challenging now to take the SAT or ACT, granted that there are not many available test dates or test locations. And then we just want to see an upward trend of those scores. PACE will always superscore the SAT and the ACT. Superscore means to take the highest of the scores, right? So if you took the SAT twice, you got a 500 on the math the first time and 600 on the math the second time. We're going to take that 600, right? We always want to make you in the best light that you can. This definitely comes into play when we're looking at merit scholarships as well. But again, PACE is test optional. We do not require test scores. It does not disqualify you from merit scholarship. So demonstrated interest as well, you know, coming onto campus, taking a virtual tour, attending some events like this event, or any other events that PACE is hosting, and then connecting with your admissions counselor is definitely a great you know, way to learn more about the school, and as well as just show that you're definitely interested in coming to PACE or any other school.
So now for the letters of recommendation, some do's and don'ts. You want to send 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. I'm sure you have like 10 people that can talk about how wonderful of a person you are, but you know, after the 3rd, we definitely get the point. So you want to make sure that whatever the school is asking for, that you follow those guidelines. And you definitely want to ask someone who can write on your academic or extracurricular experience. So we always say, you know, try not to ask mom, dad, best friend, family friend type deal, because obviously, again, they're going to have tons of positive positive things to say about you, but we want someone who can speak a little more professionally about you and your experiences in school as well as out of school. Definitely ask someone you have a strong relationship with. This is going to be, they're going to be writing, you know, about your character and who you are as a person and what you have to contribute to the campus community. So you want to make sure that this person is going to speak about you in a positive light and that they have a relationship with you where they know what's going on in your life and really what you bring to the table. So you definitely want to have someone write them that, you know, knows who you are and can speak to you highly and positively. You also want to consider asking someone who teaches in an area of study that you're planning to study. So, you know, say you are planning to be a biology major, you might want to consider getting a letter of recommendation from somebody within your school's biology department. And now you definitely want to ask before or at the very beginning of senior year in regards to having these letters written, because trust me, your teachers and your coaches and all of these different people, they're getting a ton of requests to write letters of recommendation. So you want to make sure that they have plenty of time to really give yours the personal attention that it deserves. And obviously you want to make sure that you have them sooner or rather than later, so that way you can make all of those earlier deadlines if you choose to apply either early decision or early action. And then last but not least, make sure you thank your recommenders, because they put some time and effort into writing you a rockstar letter of recommendation. So you want to make sure that you properly thank them for all of their efforts and their kind words. Now, some things not to do: send several more letters of recommendation than what is required. At one point or another, we just will stop looking at them because there are other applications to get to. But we definitely recommend, you know, again, staying within that allotted limit of whatever the school prefers, which is typically between 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. Definitely don't ask someone who doesn't know you or your accomplishments well. Again, we'll receive sometimes very standard or generic letters of recommendation, and it's really clear to us that this person clearly didn't know the person that they're writing the letter of recommendation for very well. So you want to make sure that people are able to, again, write and talk about you on a very personal level, talk about your achievements and what you've done over the course of the last 4 years in high school. And then you definitely don't want to ask the day before the letter of recommendation is due. That's an incredibly awkward position to put your recommender in, and a lot of times they may not be able to accommodate, not because they don't want to, but because they simply don't have the time to. So you want to make sure that you're giving them plenty of time to plan, so again, they can give your letter of recommendation the personalized attention that it deserves. In terms of high school transcripts, a few things that we are going to be looking at: weighted versus unweighted GPA. Again, as Bridget mentioned, we do review our applications holistically, so we are going to take both of those numbers into consideration, as well as, you know, the different types of classes that you took that led to you getting those GPAs. Rank, if provided. Some schools do provide it, some schools don't, but if it is provided, we will take it into consideration. Rigor of curriculum, you know, did you have the opportunity to take honors, AP, IB, dual enrollment courses? If so, did you utilize that opportunity? And how kind of have you trended over the 4 years? Has your course curriculum and rigor increased over the 4 years? Have you been challenging yourself throughout the time? Or did you have an easy senior year? Did you kind of cut it short? So again, these are things that we are looking for. So want to definitely recommend keeping strong in that senior year. Don't let senioritis get the best of you, because we definitely are still looking at those senior year grades. And again, trends, like I said, upward trends, we want to make sure that you're just consistently improving. And then any specific program requirements. So for example, on the right-hand side, you'll see that at PACE, we do have some specific requirements for our nursing program. We're looking for a 84 GPA as a minimum GPA. We're also looking for scores of 80 or higher in biology and living environment, as well as chemistry courses. And because you are New York City students, we're also looking for a grade of 80 or above on those Regents examinations as well. We are currently reevaluating to see if we are going test optional for the fall for our nursing program, but in the past, traditionally, we have required test scores to be submitted. We're looking at a 1080 minimum SAT or 22 minimum ACT. So that's just an example of some of the program-specific requirements for our nursing program. So if you are going into any specialized program, you definitely want to make sure that you're looking into that. Our average GPA here at PACE is a 3.3 or an 88 or a B+. Again, it doesn't really matter how it's written out on your transcript. We're going to convert it to make sure that, we're taking everything into consideration. Again, the weighted versus the unweighted GPAs. And for standardized test scores really depends on the school if they're test optional, not test optional, kind of conditional, where some programs are, some programs aren't. SAT versus ACT, each one does specialize in a little different areas. In terms of SAT, I know that focuses more on English and reading, which is ACT focuses more on like the math and science. So if you have any preferences in terms of the subjects that you're taking or your strengths in subjects, you can absolutely tailor the type of test that you take. I've never heard of any schools that will only take the SAT or only take the ACT. Typically, they will accept both. So it's really up to you in terms of which test you want to take and which scores that you want to submit. As Bridget mentioned, we do super scores. So if you take the test numerous times within each of those sections of the test, we'll take the highest score. So if your highest score in the reading section is from your first test and your highest score in the math section is from your third test, we're going to combine those highest scores to make sure we have the best version of you on paper. There are also some subject tests available, again, case-by-case basis of whether or not schools want you to submit those scores, but we have seen a lot of schools go test optional, especially for this fall, just in the light of COVID. So some PACE stats for you on the side. Average SAT, we're looking at an 1146, and our average ACT is a 24, but again, we look at applicants holistically, so we have students that are higher than that, lower than that, or won't submit those at all.
I'm going to talk a little bit about additional requirements. I'm not going to go too far into detail about this because the majority from our understanding are applying education, but we do want to provide you with the information since, in case you change course and, want to come to PACE for another program, or you want to do a double major, something like that. So we do require a portfolio for certain art programs, for the Art BFA program, making sure that you're asking colleges if they require you to do an audition, if you're looking to do acting, commercial dance, or musical theater, and then also inquiring to see if they require an interview. Alexa talked a little bit about this, but PACE does not require an interview as part of the application process, but making sure that you are staying diligent and making sure that you're hitting the deadlines and making sure you're submitting the applications for the programs that you intended to pursue. And then understanding your decision. So you get admitted, that's amazing. You'll probably find that out depending on when you submit your application. You'll definitely know before the May 1st deposit deadline or college decision day. So making sure you're reading your decision letter carefully, what that means for you to see if you were awarded any scholarship. That would be the most important part, right? So if you were deferred, the admissions committee may want a little bit more information before they make their final decision on your application. So they may ask you to submit new SAT scores, they may ask you to submit your mid-year grades, so that means your first semester senior year. So Alexa touched a little bit on senioritis, so just making sure that you're staying on top of everything throughout your career in high school. And if you're waitlisted, that may mean that the program itself filled the slots. Again, this does not apply to our School of Education, but just making sure that you're understanding your decision for other schools in case that is applicable there. And then if you were denied, it means that your application unfortunately did not meet the admissions requirements. You are welcome to reach out to admissions to inquire a little bit more maybe as to why or what they recommend for your next steps. So that may mean going to a community college, going to another school for a year, and then planning on transferring to your top school the year after, as long as you're hitting that GPA requirement after that first year at another school. So navigating financial aid. So the first thing we always recommend is staying organized, right? The FAFSA opens on October 1st. So between October 1st and November 15th, the federal government is turning the FAFSAs out very, very quickly. They're coming right to PACE within a day or two, and PACE is able to make that financial aid package as soon as possible, right? So making sure you're understanding the different types of financial aid. So you have your scholarship that you were awarded probably at the time of your admission. That's merit scholarship. And for PACE specifically, it does not change if you submit your FAFSA or not. So we always encourage students and families to file a FAFSA, even if you say you're not going to get anything. It's always, always encouraged. You may be offered work-study grants or any loan opportunities that would be through the FAFSA. So that's just additional aid that can supplement you, right? So PACE does have some tools that you can use to learn a little bit more about the application process for financial aid. We have a net price calculator on our website, so you can definitely explore that. It's a little bit more in detail than our merit scholarship estimator, since the net price calculator does kind of use the calculations that the federal government uses to award certain grants, loans, and work study opportunities. And making sure that you're eligible for financial aid. So eligibility for financial aid is generally students that have a social security number on file. That is a federal government requirement, not a PACE specific requirement, but students that do not have a social security number can reach out to admissions, and we can talk about different financing options through our financial literacy counselors and other opportunities that we may have for you. And making sure you're asking questions. You know, admissions is here to help, financial aid is here to help. We're always working to get you the best possible financial aid package that you can. We want to be sure that you have the opportunity to come to PACE if it's your top school. And of course, if you haven't heard of a certain term or a certain program that you may have been awarded on your FAFSA, always ask. Again, I'm going to say this a lot, but please just reach out to admissions or financial aid. We are more than happy to help. You know, this is our job. This is what we do. You can also reach out to a high school counselor if you have somebody else that you trust that may be in college, and you can ask them, hey, what does this mean? I got work study. What does that mean? So you can definitely ask people that you feel comfortable asking to talk a little bit more, to go into detail about your financial aid package. And then making your decision. So now you're a senior, you're ready to graduate. It's approaching that May 1 National College Decision Day. So you want to look at what schools you were accepted to and looking at those budgets for the schools, right? So you want to know the full tuition. You want to know what you're going to pay for your out-of-pocket costs, taking into consideration your merit scholarship, any grants that you were awarded if you're going to take out loans, all of that fun stuff. And again, this is a conversation you can have with your financial aid office or your admissions office of your preferred school. There are a ton of resources that are for you as well. And then you want to look at what school do you want to attend, right? So going to an admitted student day, meeting other students, maybe asking some family friends, teachers, what have you heard about this school? You know, do you see that I would be a good fit there? What can I do, you know, at this school? What clubs are there? And again, Mimi and Desiree did an amazing job talking about what PACE offers, and it's that and so much more. So we always encourage you to come onto campus. You definitely get a better feel being on campus before you make your decision. And of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to admissions. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, take out your phone, take a picture, that is our email and our phone number as well. So if you want to stop by and say hi, you're welcome to do so as long as you have an appointment now. But of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to admissions. We appreciate you all coming to our event today for the New York City Department of Education Advising Program. If you want to come on a tour, you're more than welcome to do so. You can definitely email undergraduate admissions. We can give you that information as soon as we can. All right, have a good day, everyone.